Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Elimination Mode. We're here with Day 5. Nothing but the best of 5 grand finals ahead of us. We'll have the 4 Clovers facing off against Digital Chaos for that first place prize. I'm Zyori, joined again by some very beautiful faces. Sir Action Slacks, thank you so much for not going to Pug Day in the park. I know it was such a personal sacrifice to be here for this big day.
It was. For all of you that don't know, once a year there is an event in Colorado called Pugs in the Park where everyone brings their pugs and there's costume contests and hot dog eating contests and races. And I gave it up because you know what? This elimination final is going to be the bee's knees, kids. It's going to be rad. And I'll watch some Dota over some pugs for this and only this. Can't wait.
Thanks, Slacks. Thanks for making us a priority. Unfortunately, Mott couldn't join us today, but we've got a close second here. Mott Pax.
Oh, nice.
How you doing, Trent?
I've never been called a close second. That's so exciting. I'm doing great. I want Game 4. I want Game 5. You know, I want to see some good heroes out. Woo!
I don't think you're the only one that's hoping for a Game 5. The best of 5 series is when things get really interesting, and we've actually seen a pretty diverse set of heroes, but who knows? The sky's the limit. Draskyl, what's the good word, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, you know. I'm just waiting, just like everyone else is, for the games. I want to see a Game 5 just because what the hell are you going to pick in a Game 5? I'm just looking at the heroes now, and there's like maybe 15 to 20 heroes that I would say aren't so great, and it would be pretty awesome if we got to see the news.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, worth reiterating here, Oracle and Earth Spirit, the 2 non-Captain's Mode heroes, are available for picking. We saw Earth Spirit but once. Only one humble showing. Since then, he has been banned out completely. And Oracle, well, we only saw her once, and it was...
That Oracle, though.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
It wasn't great.
It was for the fans.
It was for the fans. It was interesting to go back and see that Dota buff profile of John. And the heroes never played. Oracle.
You know, he could totally have an alt account where he played the hero. Like that's not out of the question if you want to keep that hidden from people.
It's true. They could have been practicing the whole time, but it was interesting. So I'm curious. You guys think we'll see any Oracle play? Like Draskyl, in this best of 5, let's say we're going into Game 4, Game 5. Like, at what point does Oracle become better than that pool of shit tier that you're thinking about?
I think 3 and 4 is where he starts to become more and more likely. A 5th game, I'd say there's probably up to about a 50-50 chance that he's actually picked. I mean, the real problem is, like I said, so little people actually play the hero and understand how it functions that will deter a lot of the teams from even trying it in normal circumstances. So in elimination mode, we get a chance to see stuff that people don't normally do, but as far as if it's going to be picked, I don't know if there's an Oracle player between the 2 teams today. So that's also in question too.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. Slacks, what are you hoping to see towards the tail end of this series once we get to that Game 4, Game 5 territory?
Well, of course, we still haven't seen that much techies. Really want to see some techies. Omni Knights, still, no, my 2 big ones. But I don't know. I really want to see heroes that are never, ever played by anybody. I'm hoping for a Game 5 with some Elder Titan thrown in there. I'm hoping for, you know, Ancient Apparitions. I love it. Get them in there. We've seen some AAs, but what...
A little bit, and we actually, Trent was nice enough to compile a list that someone else compiled of all the heroes that haven't been picked. I don't think we have an overlay for it or any way to show it, but we can just run down the list very quickly here in alphabetical order. Alchemist, Chaos Knight, Doom, Elder Titan, Faceless Void, Keeper of the Light, Kunkka, Lich, Lifestealer, Morphling, Necrophos, Night Stalker, Pudge, Riki, Shadow Demon, Skywrath Mage, Sven, Terrorblade, Timbersaw, Treant, Troll, and Ursa. That is the list of heroes that so far have yet to be banned or picked, just completely ignored. And I can't say I'm too surprised to see any of those, except maybe the Treant. We were just talking about that before we went live, that Treant is hot to trot in certain scenarios, but I guess not in elimination mode.
Hot to trot. What about Night Stalker? Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, Night Stalker is like poop tier. That hero is, yeah, he is absolute bottom tier right now.
Is poop tier below ass tier? I'm not sure.
Nah, it's like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, then poop tier, then shit tier. Like that's how it goes.
I see. So shit is worse than poop.
So he's almost scraping the bottom of the barrel. Not quite, but he's close.
Okay. I thought he was kind of okay-ish.
He's actually good at nighttime. Like if he just was that hero 100% of the game, it would be great.
Really?
The unfortunate part is there's a daytime, and daytime just makes him awful.
Yeah. I mean, there was that period where like the position 4 Night Stalker was kind of a thing, you know, roam around, silence people early on, but yeah, I guess half the game being kind of shitty is a big bottleneck.
Yeah, you can't just have a timing window where it's like, obviously it's not straight 50% because as you get more levels, your darkness scales better and you can actually keep it nighttime for a pretty good amount.
Right.
But that's also a reason why you wouldn't want to run him in a support role and you would want to put him in at least some kind of core position because then you can actually get the levels that you need. And back when, I think it was Fnatic who started using him, like way back when it was old like Hani era, etc. They would run like Midas into immediate Aghanims and they would run like a vision restricting strategy. Like just based around you not being able to see anything on the map and then you just get ganked nonstop. So stuff like that can be very useful in niche situations. I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody do it in like a 4th or a 5th game. But as far as the hero's overall usefulness, I don't care for it particularly.
Okay. You know, a hero that's not on this list that I don't recall when he was banned. I know he wasn't picked. Outworld Devourer. When was he utilized? He must have been banned out in one of the game 3s or something.
He was. Oh, actually, now I'm not sure.
I think he was a ban. He wasn't a pick. He was definitely a ban.
Yeah, definitely not picked. But I think OD is one of those kind of pocket pick heroes that once you get to game 3, game 4 territory, depending on how the pool of heroes is shaped up, he can be really scary in certain scenarios.
Oh yeah, he was banned in the first series in game 2.
Okay.
Yeah, he has a really big issue right now where a lot of the tier 1 mids that are picked just outrange him. Like, that's a problem. A lot of people don't understand the difference between... If you've ever played against a sniper before in lane, you understand how this feels. Trying to do something and just never being able to get in range to use any of your abilities or harass. That's pretty much what OD suffers from the most. And he is a hero who was built in the past to dominate the lane. And they nerfed the range of his Astral Imprisonment, so you have to be closer now. And that kind of just sealed the deal, especially once they started buffing Queen and Lina again.
Yeah. Any guesses on completely untouched heroes? Personally, I'm guessing Necrophos, simply because of the Glimmer.
I think Coddle is probably the most likely out of those heroes that hasn't been played. I also think Treant is good too, as Andrew said, so I think either of those are a possibility.
Oh, I'm saying, like, totally
the other way. Who is going to be
not
completely
picked
ignored?
at all?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Necrophos. I agree with that.
I think Kunkka is probably my top. He just doesn't fit. You know, we talked about the sort of Shadow Demon Kunkka old support duo. Who knows? Maybe that's a pocket strat. We'll see. I think Kunkka and Doom are the top of my list of not going to be touched at all.
I don't know about Kunkka. I don't think he's that bad.
I don't think he's that bad either. I think teams just really don't like him for some reason. I want to see him. Don't get me wrong.
He's hard to lane, yeah. It's just like finding a place to put him is a pain in the ass, so...
Yeah, if you could get him with something like maybe like a Darkseer. I don't know, that would have to be like first game though, is the only problem because Darkseer's so high tier now. But anything where you can get some sort of control going so you can actually land the spells easier, maybe even like a Clockwork if he sneaks into game 2 or 3. But obviously that's pretty unlikely. Maybe we'll get Faceless Void Kunkka, game 4.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Void is another surprising one on this list because we've seen that sometimes offlaners can become in high demand, and I still think the offlane Void is viable in certain scenarios. It's obviously not great, but you know, there's some options there. What do you think in Slacks? Who are we not going to see at all? You strike me as a Terrorblade kind of guy.
I've seen the Terrorblade, bro. It comes out once in a while. You just got to know how to work it. Who we're never going to see? Shadow Demon. Never going to see.
Oh, why you got to hate on Shadow Demon?
I'm not hating. I'm just stating the facts. I mean, I think Shadow Demon is the least picked hero right now in Pub Dota as well. And I don't think... Does he have like one of the worst win rates in the game right now? I don't know. I'm making stuff up. But,
I mean... Great stats work there, Slacks.
Hey, whoa! I ain't a statsman. Jesus, I have friends.
Okay. Do you concur, Trent?
Well, we should get one of those stats guys one of these times. I don't know.
Yeah, man. If only we could find somebody that was available.
So, I don't know.
Oh my! So with that, folks, we got game number 1 of this best of 5 grand finals here getting started. Digital Chaos versus the 4 Clovers. No stand-ins today for 4CL. Of course, Weehaw was standing in yesterday. There were quite a few questions on the YouTube channel and various other places of communication, but they've got their full roster today. There was just some sort of a scheduling mishap or what have you with one of their individuals, so we can look forward to that. The other question that we've gotten a lot of, what server are these teams going to play on? North America versus EU. We're going going to do the old flipperoo. With the coin toss, you get to your choice of server, and then it's just going to rotate back and forth and as the series continues. That's kind of the fairest way to do it. Obviously, you're never going to have the ideal server scenario when you've got North American and European teams, and that was kind of why we wanted to isolate it into the best of 5, where you have more games to have it kind of level out. So with that, we can take a look at these picks here. Leshen Bounty Hunter banned out by DC, and the Gyrocopter Winter Wyvern banned out by the Four Clovers.
Yeah, this is the snooze fest game, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's just going to be like a normal Dota game. Not really anything super exciting coming out. But I will say that during this tournament, there have been teams who have picked stuff that's a little bit unorthodox in the first game. Which I don't know if that's just because their mentality is different going into it being elimination mode, or if they're just genuinely trying to, you know, experiment with stuff against the other good teams. So I want to see if anybody's going to try anything out of the ordinary here, but seeing a Tusk and Alina, I'm thinking it's pretty vanilla at the moment.
Yep. Absolutely. Nothing too surprising here. Although, the one interesting thing about Tusk is we have seen him banned more than picked. It seems like Digital Chaos is the team that's really prioritized Tusk. We didn't get to see them in the opening round because they had a walkover, but I think yesterday in Game 1, they first picked the Tusk as well, if I'm not mistaken.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, they picked it very early on for sure. I'm not entirely sure if it was first pick, but it was definitely first phase.
Reserve time.
Dusky. Oh, I'm going to add. I like
I'm like
his
trying
voice.
to look it up right now.
Lena, though. Lena's a hot little ticket these days, huh? I'm sure sick of playing against her. I cannot take it anymore. Please, Ice Frog, help us.
I think I am the biggest lobbyist for Lena Nurse out of anyone. Like, if anyone's ever watched my stream, every time I play against a hero, I bitch about it the whole time. I'm like, why does this hero have 10,000 range on all of her skills? Why does she do 1,000 pure damage with level 16 Aghanims? It's just like, the hero is actually insane.
Yep. She is quite good and quite fast. But here we go, a little change of pace perhaps. Naga Siren, we saw her utilized a little bit earlier on in the tournament, but I don't think we've seen her prioritized quite this highly as a second pick.
Yeah, I guess it is Aui's team, so maybe some teams just totally ignore Naga going into the drafts. Like, you'll watch a whole series and she's not even mentioned, and then other times she's like first ban. So I guess it depends on if you're aware that someone on the team kind of has like the pacing right for the song, gonna make sure they can set up or evacuate from bad fights. But another thing that I was kind of surprised by is we don't get that Tusk Undying opener anymore. Used to be so good, but kind of fallen off a bit since TI and ever since the start of TI really. But looks like they'll end up with the Lena Earthshaker, which is just so good. Like, he just walks into your lane, Fisher, LSA, you're dead.
Dire team
Yep.
ban.
There's a couple of duos like that he can really set up for, but yeah, that is one of the more dirty of the few. Slacks, oh, I'm so sorry, buddy.
This sucks. And in case you people have forgotten, elimination mode, we will never see a techies in the entire finals. 5 games, no techies. Dreams crushed so early. But that's okay. At least I don't have to look forward to anything again.
Well, at least you can look at this draft and say, okay, so for the next, at least 2 games, we're not going to see Leshrac or Bounty Hunter or, Storm Spirit. Like, man, we're getting all the OP picks out right now. Look at this draft.
I'm so sad we're not going to see any Bounty Hunter, man.
Oh, man.
What a fun
Balanced
hero
Hunter.
to watch.
I'm a little bummed that we
Hunter.
lost the
10
Earth Spirit, though. I
seconds
really
remaining.
do love watching these very high-skilled players rip people apart with the
5
Earth Spirit.
seconds.
Yeah, though it is interesting that he made it to the second round of bans. Ever since the first day where he was
Reserve
picked up
time.
in that first couplet, we've seen him actually just first banned straight out by most teams. They don't even want to mess around with the Earth Spirit and all those damn rocks he's throwing around. And I guess both of these teams just lacking that hardcore Earth Spirit picker. Sort of similar to the Oracle. You really need somebody that's practiced the Earth Spirit to really shine.
Yeah, it's very true. But the other thing, too, is even if somebody is mediocre on it, it can still be really strong as long as you know what your job is. A lot of the time, people will pick stuff like Earth Spirit, or back in the day, it was Venge, who would be used for defensive swapping purposes. Then Earth Spirit can do the same thing without even being level 6. So it's a very hard hero to handle in a lot of situations, especially when your team already, like if you look at Digital Chaos, they have like a Naga Siren for Ensnare, they have Tusk. They're pretty prone to getting crushed by just being able to swap somebody out of a bad situation, and Earth Spirit is very, very good at that, so it makes a lot of sense. And 4CL, this is pretty much as standard as it gets in terms of hero picks. Now, it could lean more towards Lina being in a support capacity here, but we also have seen safe lane Lina before, and given the fact that they have Darkseer, I wouldn't be surprised to see either the Queen or the Lina be in that safe lane.
Yeah, that's a good point. And on the note of the Darkseer, we've seen him prioritized quite a bit in this tournament as well, most notably by Alliance.
10 seconds
They
remaining.
picked him in the two series that they played, I think, in Game
5
1. So
seconds remaining.
Digital Chaos here, gearing up for some pretty scary mid-game team fight. See what they do with their
Reserve
fourth
time.
pick.
Now,
They
can I
need
ask a
something
question?
that
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
synergizes with it, though. No, I was just like thinking out loud. They don't have anything that really shows combo potential yet, so that's what I'm waiting for.
Ask
Yeah.
a question real quick. What are they picking here that counters the Naga? I mean, shouldn't they be putting a little bit more focus on that Naga? Awie's pretty famous for his Naga plays, right?
Yes and no. I mean, he's certainly famous for the Naga, but I mean, how much stock can you put into trying to counterpick a position 4 hero?
Yeah, there are a couple things you can do. Like the Earthshaker Fisher does reach inside the song, so that's one of the possibilities in terms of if you're not caught in the song, you can get the Fisher off. And then the other one is that you can kind of
Radiant
avoid
team
like BKB carries because that can kind of turn into disaster moving into later games. So someone like Alina, she doesn't really want to buy BKB, and it can actually turn out being kind of useful because then you're not singled out during the song, and you can go for more of those high damage items instead.
Oh, big pick there. Bloodseeker, boys. Woo!
We've never seen that before. It's
No.
the first time.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I never
but-
see that hero.
We're
Not in my
starting to see
pubs.
the synergy, though. Now you've got 2 heroes that can synergize with the
10
Naga setup. If
seconds
she catches a few
remaining.
in sleep, you know, you can set up the Blood Ride into a Vacuum Wall combo. So they've got
5
that bit of
seconds
wombo
remaining.
starting to begin here.
And
Yeah,
we,
it's definitely not bad.
Yeah, we had the
Reserve
Biryu
time.
Tusk as well, the other game. So that's something that I noticed in a few other series that have been going on lately. More of this 5th position Tusk. Like for a while now, he's been kind of almost always in the off lane. But Biryu played at like complete poverty level. The last time he was on it, he was like the lowest on his team, which was pretty rare recently for the Tusk. I guess maybe people are just getting better at the hero and kind of realizing that it can be just as effective as that Shaker that roams around with 0 farm the whole game.
I think it feels similar to when you have a team that just doesn't. Okay, they get farm, and then those heroes soak up all the farm. So, for instance, yesterday when we saw Meepo and then Tinker, I think it was, right? Like, that's an extreme example, but I
Yeah.
think that's where those situations
10
kind of fit in,
seconds
because
remaining.
no matter how farmed you are on heroes like Earth Spirit, you're gonna fall off as soon as
5
BKBs start coming
seconds
out. And
remaining.
in this patch, at least 2 to 3 BKBs are common in games. So
Reserve
having him in
time.
a support role and just making sure that you can do what you do early, that's all you need, in my opinion. And you can still transition pretty well if you get like just an Aghanims. Your utility just shoots through the roof.
Well, Wraith King now for the 4 Clovers, a pretty classic carry that we've seen against the Bloodseeker because he comes back to life. Really the worst rupture target about you can go for unless you have some way to mana burn him. So perhaps not too surprising from the 4 Clovers, though Wraith King is pretty niche pick these days.
You all right, Sayori? Man, these picks they're wearing you down, buddy.
I know.
10 seconds.
Wraith King. I've
Wraith
tried to get
King.
excited about Wraith King. I'm just like, well, he's
Radiant team back.
Oh, he's
fucking
kinda
Wraith
cool.
King. What do you
Oh,
get?
do you
Oracle
not-
man. Oh, that's too bad.
All right. Oracle banned
Oracle
out in Game
banned.
1. That is a change of pace, though. We
Dire
haven't seen her
team
really banned at all.
Kind of a unneeded insult there to poor Oracle. I don't really know why they did that. Drasky, why did they ban Oracle?
It's actually not terrible against this lineup, and the main reason is they have 2 forms of pure damage, right? So you can always use what is it? I can never remember. Is it
False
Fate's Edict?
Promise or Fate's
Fate's
Edict?
Edict, I think, is the one that
Radiant
disarms
team
and makes you take 50% more damage from all sources, right? I literally cannot remember that hero's ability names at all. Like, I've played it like 3 times, but the synergy is there just because Bloodseeker already takes amplified damage, right? You also have a tremendous amount of melee, which is also pretty bad against Oracle because you have the AoE purge and you can root and get a really nice combo off with things like Shaker and Queen, and their mass AoE is pretty sick. I could be overthinking it, though. They could just be looking to keep an extra hero in the pool for some reason, too. That is always
That
a
is
strategy
possible.
in
10
Elimination, yeah.
seconds remaining.
Yeah. Wind Ranger for DC to round out their roster. Some additional
5
carry power
seconds
there.
remaining.
You know, they are a pretty heavy melee lineup, though. I'd love to see the 4 Clovers go for something like a
Reserve
Magnus
time.
here and just punish all that melee aggression.
Yeah, man. Let's see our first Enigma. He's coming there, black hole everybody. Oh, what the
Nice.
heck?
That's actually alright, too, though. I mean, Spirit Breaker against mass melee. We saw Bambo's charges yesterday kind of single-handedly win them a game, so it's not bad when everyone's in close vicinity to get that like 3 or 4 man charge off during a fight. It causes a lot of havoc.
Yeah, this 4CL team has a lot of control. Pretty much everyone has some way, either a snare or a stun, once Alina gets that Yules, man, it's just going to be setup after setup. I feel like this is one of those lineups that could really ball out of control if they have a good laning phase.
Yeah, it's very true, and I think this is kind of their style. They don't like to sit passively by and try to farm. Even in the later games where it becomes harder to actually form that kind of aggressive lineup, they still try. You know, they never just go, okay, we'll pick like an AM and then try to go for the late game, which I thought was interesting because I think Digital Chaos actually banned AM. Yeah, they did. Okay, so I mean, obviously it's good against their heroes, and I understand why they did, but if they were going to pick Bloodseeker, it actually makes a little bit less sense as to why they would ban it. But either way, I do like 4CL's draft quite a bit.
Yeah, I think Digital Chaos has a lot of potential if they can find the combo, but it's easier said than done, perhaps. And of course, our draft is complete here, but unfortunately, the Dota 2 game coordinator is still shit in the bed.
Oh,
So, Slacks, we might need you to dance or tell a few jokes here to fill this
that's
window.
great. Actually, girlfriend just got home with my pug's costume. You guys want to see him? He's really cool.
Sure, you know what, Slacks? I think that sounds great. Right now, anything
We got
sounds better
nothing
than the
else,
Dota
man.
2 game coordinator down, so fucking yeah,
Come
man.
in here, baby. All right, great. But anyway, I'm pretty pumped, man. Spirit Break, Wraith King, he excites me. I'm always excited by people defying death. And that's the #1 death defier in Dota 2, baby. Croissant Face always comes back, always puts on a good show. Maybe see that Radiance Wraith King? Who knows? Could be.
Yeah, he's gonna be pretty scary. And then we were talking about the Naga song setup. They don't really have like that instant stun after. Like you don't have the disruptor to throw down the static storm or something. And I guess they're gonna have to do some pretty good timing with the blood, right? But I guess if you're gonna have anyone on a Naga Siren for that, you're gonna want it to be Owie. So we'll see if they can set up some shackles or something as well coming out of it.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I don't know. I mean, the blood right, yeah. Maybe if you can get that perfect vacuum. It does shut up. Yeah, I'm stuttering. I can't listen and type at the same time. And as I was talking, I realized I was about to say the exact same things you just said. So well said. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh
Brent.
well, you know.
You are.
I do what I can.
So
And then-
Slacks, are you doing something here, or are we?
trying to
my!
Yeah!
What
I
is
thought you
it?
said hot dog.
Is
He's
that
a skunk! Yeah! Pepe Le Pug!
Yeah.
that's fabulous. My
Alright,
gosh.
we gotta go. This is
Golly, good
Oh,
gracious.
you gotta go.
gotta go.
Yeah. Okay. So while we wait for the game to get sorted here, are we going?
Did we do it?
No? I still don't have a game coordinator. So I think while we have a quick break here, we should go ahead and queue up that very educational video from Sir Action Slacks explaining all of the ins and outs of elimination mode, and then we'll go ahead and get into game #1 here by the graces of the Dota 2 gods.
Woo! Well, hey there, metaphorical representation of a generic Dota 2 professional player. What's the matter? Feeling bored of the standard boring tournament format? Golly, normal best-of-3 captain's draft. What a bore. Well, hey there, sports fan. How would you like to try a brand new tournament format that no one has ever done before? One that focuses on versatility, general skill, and non-in-the-meta picks. Sound good, sport? Well then, welcome to Elimination Mode! Haha, don't be scared. Elimination Mode is the bee's knees. Here's how it works. It's a best-of-3 mode where the first game is your typical game of Dota. Pick to your heart's content. Go on, pick your favorite hero. That's right, pick Bloodseeker, you dirty little piece of... Wowee, what a game, champ! Time for game 2. Uh-oh, what's that? Looking for Bloodseeker? Oh, he's dead now. No, he's dead. You killed him. Here in Elimination Mode, heroes from both teams can only be picked once per series. If a hero gets played in one game, he is eliminated from the hero pool. Golly gosh, you just can't pick him again. But wait a second, you banned the most OP heroes last time, right? Oh yes, last game you banned Leshrac, didn't you? But where is he? Where is he? Generic metaphorical representation of a Dota 2 professional player. Where is he? You killed him! The blood is on your hands. That's right, sports fan. Banned heroes are also not able to be picked in the best of 3 series. Why, gosh, he never even got the chance to live, did he? You killed him before he could even see a creep. Wowie, sport, you did this. That's right. After every game, all the picks and bans are eliminated from the drafting pool. That's 20 whole heroes per game. If the games go to game 3, that's 60 whole eliminated heroes. Can you imagine if the finals were a best of 5 and they went all the way? What heroes would even be left? Hope you've been keeping up with your Elder Titan plays. Nobody has. See, that's the point of Elimination Mode! If you've been grinding one hero for 500 MMR, you're in for a rough ride, daddy-o. You only get to use him once. Maybe. It's a mode that demands that you have skill with a wide assortment of heroes and demands flexibility and planning, because you never know who you're gonna have next game. If you're the kind of player that randoms the last pick in ranked matchmaking, this game mode is for you, you stupid piece of shit. So what are you waiting for? Get out there and eliminate your possibilities with the new Elimination Mode! Everyone's gotta die sometime. Brought to you by Moonduck Studios.
All right, so after learning more about elimination mode, hopefully all of your questions should be answered. Slacks, you are a god, sir. Okay, and he's also muted, so that's great.
Classic.
Classic Sir Action Slacks. So it looks like we're having some luck here with the Dota 2 game coordinator. And we should be able to get in the game pretty quickly here. We're having trouble setting the team tags, so remember, folks, it is going to be the 4 Clovers facing off against Digital Chaos, even if the overlay in-game is not quite up to date. Only so much we can do here. Dota gods, please have mercy.
I was looking up some filler stats here since our our panel's kind of gone to shit here with slacks and whatnot. So
Literally.
Yeah. So we were looking up the OP status here. So if you've got Naga and Tusk on the same team so far in 6.84, you're sitting at a solid 64.5% win rate. That's 20 wins, 11 losses. Pretty good. You're feeling all right. So then I was like, you know what else is good? Earthshaker Lena. Turns out that's sitting at 58 wins and 75 losses. So you're like down to 43, 44%. Not so hot, but that has to do a lot with the roles and him being the off lane and stuff like that. But definitely showing off the power of that Naga Siren, I would reckon.
They can't hear us, right?
Slacks, what is wrong with you? Were you dropped as a child? My
He
gosh.
just talks like that all the time.
Yeah, no, I'm just casually talking to you guys like this. It's just like, yep.
Oh my god. All right, well, with that beautiful transition, we're going to go ahead and hand it over our casters here. We've got none other than Odie, Pixel, and syndereN, your grand finals casters here. Odie, Pixel, take it away, my man.
Hello, what's going on? Right, yes, I'm here, don't worry. Right, what's going on? We haven't actually started the game yet, though, so we're chilling. We're chilling still. It's syndereN here. Let's talk to syndereN. syndereN knows stuff about Dota. Charles, how you doing?
Hey, you hear
Hey.
me? All right, we're good.
Yeah, I can hear you. So,
Okay.
syndereN,
Perfect. Yeah.
what would you like to say?
What would I like to say? I think, the funny thing about this for me is, once again, we follow through with the trend that's been happening so far in this tournament. That is that we don't get 100% standard drafts in Game 1. Like, Wraith King is not a hero that gets picked very much these days. It's picked from one side. On the other side, I guess, pretty much standard, though. So there's maybe one surprise pick here in Game 1, but it's still, I think more games than not, there has been something unusual even in the first game, so that's pretty cool.
Okay. And just to confirm, the game's not started, have it? Has it?
I'm in it.
Oh.
It's in-game.
Right, I'm sure this is something we can fix. I'm still stuck on a lobby screen. Right. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Can we just remake?
Can we remake? It's all right. We got this, syndereN. It's gonna be me and you. We've done this before, I think, right?
Is this happening? Like,
I think it has to happen. I don't think we have a choice.
Mine's fucked up there. Thanks, Reborn.
try to
Alright.
restart. All right, welcome
guys
to the
about.
Grand Finals cast with syndereN and Draskyl. How? Welcome
That's
to
okay.
Reborn
We got
Beta
some funny
Test.
shit going on here. Aoi gets Light Strike Array. Here comes a follow-up Hellfire Blast. Ice Shards, though, blocking off a couple of members here for us. The other charge comes in from EGM. That's going to be your first blood right there. Onto Aoi 2000. Biryu, along with Bulba, going to eat another Light Strike Array. But looks like 4CL are going to walk away the victors here. Just fighting over a little bit of ward vision, I guess.
Yeah, the Radiant heroes are extremely good for level 1. I'm actually surprised that DC tried to take. I don't think they wanted to take that fight. Actually, I just guess they had no choice the moment they got charged on. But you're not going to win that fight against the Radiant with those heroes from the Dire. So of course 4CL got the first kill. They also get both bounty runes, so they're off to a really good start here. And the only thing DC really accomplished was placing a pretty standard Observer Ward in the Radiant jungle.
Yeah, I think the whole thing kicked off too by that Light Strike Array from Fog. So I think that one was pretty hard for them to avoid in general. So really good stuff coming out from 4CL. And they're the kind of team where I feel you give them a little bit of momentum, especially with a lineup like this, and they can do a ton. Now we got to see how the lanes are going to shape up, and it seems like dual offlane Tusk Darks here. Against this particular lineup though on bottom, I don't know how much this is going to accomplish. I think they can actually die quite easily here.
Yeah. I think this is the kind of game where you get maybe, I don't even know if you want to get level 3 on the Darkseer before you go jungle, or if you just go right away and start stacking some camps and farming it, because the moment you realize you're playing against this tri lane, there's no way you're getting away. Surge is great and all, but when you play into 3 stuns, you need some really nifty plays with the snowball in order to even survive that combo. So I think DC are in a really bad position there.
And then we got the mid matchup here. It's TC versus Queen of Pain. It's going to be played as Bloodseeker versus Queen, and this particular matchup is interesting to me because, well, first off, you don't see it much. And this is... I guess the Queen can win, and he's even gone as far as to skill Scream at level 2, which I guess is just for harassment purposes, but this lane's actually super hard for Queen, I feel.
It's... yeah, I guess so. Especially when the Bloodseeker gets to start with these items, right? You go Poor Man's Shield, 2 shared tangos, and then you get a salve very early on, because it's so unrewarding playing a lane dominator against Bloodseeker. If you don't play it like perfectly, all of your harassment just goes to waste. You just see TC, the moment he gets the last hit, he heals 140. It's like an entire Shadow Strike he negates by getting 1 CS. And he of course does have better damage than Pycat 2 when he's Blood Raged. Now he even gets a Quelling Blade, so he has a very big advantage. Here comes the charge though from EGM, gets the stun off. Will he get a Greater Bash? That should be a kill if he does. Maybe they don't even need it. He actually does get it there. And I do think they needed it, after all, especially with Tusk rotating in.
I guess as soon as you put that Blood Rage on, it makes it a lot easier to harass, because at that point, Pycat only had mana for 1 Shadow Strike. So if that Shadow Strike wasn't enough to kill, then I guess at the very least they were going to apply some pressure, but that secures Pycat's bottle. He'll be able to probably get the haste rune top, as neither team actually has vision of it right now, but I think he'll probably check. Might have noticed that none of the supports have rotated. And that haste rune could very easily be another kill.
No, it could.
Top lane. Yeah, Bambo, he's going to eat that power shot here. Very low on health. Going to see EGM teleport in. He's going to charge onto UR, but I don't really think much is going to happen from this. Although his wind run is down.
Bash.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. He's chasing him down right now. He can't get a bash to save his life. He's going to get ensnared here by Aoi, and looks like he'll be forced back.
That's really unfortunate. 1 bash there for EGM is actually a kill, I think. I think Yawara, after all those attacks, was down to like 100 health, and Greater Bash deals a lot of extra damage, so... Well, maybe not. It's a level 1 Greater Bash. He has 2 in charge. So
I think it would have been super close either way.
Yeah.
Like, he might have died. It might have been like 10 HP or something like that.
This is such a good lane for Spirit Breaker, though. Like, if you look at the heroes he's up against, they're a lot about physical damage, and he just has really good base tankiness. 5 armor, the Stout Shield already has the 2 gauntlets from the first kill and the assist he's got. He can always just rotate whenever he wants, so now he's going to charge mid again. TC is being pressured really hard by Pycat.
Yeah, Biryu's here though. Question is a snowball going to be enough to really help? They are behind the tower. Here comes the Shadow Strike. Actually dodges it with the snowball. They want to try to turn it around, but there's not enough mana for Ice Shards. He needs 4 more. TC and Biryu chasing right now. Pycat's got Blink in 5. Doesn't look like they'll continue to chase this out. And once again, looks like 4CL are going to get both runes here too.
Yeah, an extra 5 mana on Biryu there is the first kill for DC in this game, that's for sure. If they block off Pycat, they know the Blink is level 1 obviously, so it's a very long cooldown. But he gets out barely there. Although, of course, the gank does fail, and TC, you're starting to see what you pointed out, that this lane is really favoring the Bloodseeker. He's up 23 and 11 to the 13-2 of Pycat, and this is a classic mid lane dominator in Queen of Pain that just can't go toe-to-toe with this hero.
I guess the one thing about it is, in most circumstances, the queen should dominate, that's true, but at least you're getting the EXP. And I feel like TC, if you get caught with a Blood Rage on, very similar to what we saw EGM do earlier, you can get blown up by a queen at level 6. Like, that damage you're going to take is insane. And if you're getting harassed constantly, you're probably going to have to use Blood Rage at some point to bring yourself back up.
Yeah, what do you think about his choice of going 2 in Blood Rage? I would say usually you go 1-1-3, and the extra 5% damage and the extra 1 second duration, this ensures that he can constantly cast it, because now the duration and cooldown is the same. But at the same time, that extra 5% is also ingoing damage that could put him in a lot of trouble.
Oh. Pycat, he's got his ultimate up here. He has enough mana for the Scream and the ulti beer used in the area. Looks like they're going to choose not to go in, fearing the Snowball and Ice Shards. But I do think that's kind of the way you want to do it. Is a level 1 Blood Rite really going to change a whole lot in this situation? I feel maybe you can catch out an aggressive Blink or throw it on EGM, but since he's not 6, you're not stopping like a Nether Strike, for example. And I think just keeping yourself at full health is super important because you know that you're going to be that charge target.
It puts a different type of pressure, right? Let's say you're getting charged by Bloodseeker or by Spirit Breaker, and you just cast Blood Rite on yourself. Then Pycat needs to really think about his positioning on the engage. He can't blink in aggressively and get Scream and Sonic Wave off because he's going to get silenced, and then he can turn around on. So I think it's a really good defensive value point, and I don't know what this Blood Rage point has done for him so far. Good Ice Shards by Biryu. They might actually be able to get this kill. They're not trying, though. Surprised they didn't go for the Snowball play. But
TC was 4 experience away from level 6. I think if he was 6, they definitely go for that. Well, either way, looks like Aoi taking some damage here top from Bambo, and we should kind of bring this up, I feel, because he's level 5, and he has Arcanes. Might die, though. Biryu with the Haste Rune. Ice Shard's coming in. There's the power shot. Bambo definitely not going to live through that one, so poor guy, as soon as I bring him up, he gets killed. But I still feel like he's getting a lot out of this early game.
Yeah, for sure. Being level 5 on the Shaker in this offlane at minute 6 is really good, and having Arcanes, of course, great for him. Also love his choice of maxing Fissure. I feel like a lot of the time when we see core Shakers, whether it's in the offlane or in a solo mid position, they often choose to either max Aftershock or enchant Totem, and I just think Fissure... People forget how well this levels. Like, the extra damage and, of course, the extra stun duration is really good, and in most situations, until you get a Blink Dagger, your chance of getting like 2 or 3 enchant totem hits off or getting a good aftershock proc is very low. The Fissure's just way more flexible in my opinion.
I agree a lot. Sometimes I like the 2-1-2 build that a lot of people do because that way you can chain stun. Gonna see a charge here onto middle lane. Snowball comes in for Biryu.
They're gonna regret that.
Bambo is coming in. Here comes the Sonic Wave. The burst with the Fissure comes out. Biryu is already down. TC will be soon to follow, and that is a double kill for Pycat. Now, I don't think Biryu saw the Shaker.
He definitely did not.
That's the only way I can justify that Snowball is if he didn't see Bambo there.
The thing is, he indirectly saw the Shaker by the fact that he hasn't shown top for 30 seconds. So it's actually a misread of the map. Like, if Shaker has not shown in that aggressive ward they have up there, they know he's rotated. Where is it most likely he is? It's gotta be mid, right? He won't go bottom to try to kill the Darkseer together with Wraith King. He could, I guess, but it's not nearly as valuable as finding this kill mid. Or CNL just with a superior rotation here from the start.
Yeah, it's just really bizarre to me that happened, because they do have the high ground ward, right? So it just seems really uncommon that you would not see that hero, because he was well on the river by the time they started that engage. But either way, Bambo's still making things happen here. He's been involved in half his team's kills right now. He's getting close to level 6, which means he'll have that Echo available. It might be around the same time that this charge hits on top lane. Noir, he's going to get charged here, has level 2 Shackle and Wind Run up. TP reaction coming in from Biryu. EGM is going to get the Ice Shards here. Do they want to go on this? There is a double damage. Shackle does not latch. Bambo is not quite 6 just yet. Yawar is going to eat the Scream, get daggered, run back to the tower. He might die to the dot damage. It's bottling up now. Charge coming in from EGM. He wants to go for it. In the meantime, Echo right in front of the tower. Bambo with the double. 3 down right now on the side of DC. And now EGM has realized, I might have made a mistake, but he does have charge up soon. So I think he'll be fine.
That was actually such a clutch echo by Bambo there. If he doesn't get that off, the Pycat ultimately does end up dying, but the amount of damage they managed to output between that Echo Slam on 2 heroes and of course the Enchant Totem attack finally to finish off the Bloodseeker, that would have probably been a lost fight if they didn't have that clutch timing there, and instead they get a very convincing 3-1 win in that engage, so very solid from them. And I feel like it's interesting to see the playstyle of 4 Clovers. It's kind of 4 Protect 1 in a lot of their games. Swift Ending is just really farming away this game on a Wraith King, who's often a very active early game carry, but it's just their style of play and it's working wonders so far.
The nice thing about their lineup is they don't really need him right now, you know? They have Queen, ulti's up once again. I guess the person who's suffering the most here on the side of 4CL, if anyone, is going to be Saksa, because he's only level 4 at the moment. Everyone else is having a phenomenal early game. And just between the three of, Pycat, of course, on the Queen, and then the Spirit Breaker, plus the Earthshaker, they've just been making so much happen. And to a certain degree, you kind of got to be concerned for this Bloodseeker, because he absolutely needs BKB. And if 4CL start 5-manning, Blade Mail Bloodseeker build is not that effective in that situation.
Oh, and there's just a couple of really good natural BKB carriers on the Radiant. So
yeah,
the Blade Mail is only impactful for, say, 5 to 10 minutes, and then you got to make so much of it. I don't think this is a Blade Mail game for Bloodseeker. I'm with you on that. He has to go for more of a combat and more of a farming build, perhaps. So we'll see what TZ chooses to do here. Looks like there's a little bit of a smoke coming up for Clovers, so we've got EGM cracking level 6, Bambos level 7, so level 4 Fissure. If they get an opening on pretty much anyone who's not protected by a snowball, that hero will die instantly.
Biryu was so close to breaking the smoke there. If he had walked just a little bit closer, they might just end up finding Bulba here in the woods.
Bulba's
Smoke
fucking
breaks.
dead.
Yeah, he's
Dead.
not having a great time. See you later, Sam. Rip in pieces.
Here comes Biryu, though. He actually has the opportunity to block both heroes off in this point with Ice Shards, but there's no backup available. If Yawar was a little bit closer and had rotated over, they could have found one kill there at least. Now instead, EGM, making it very clear that he's charging bottom, actually stops it at the mid-tier 1 tower. He's just gonna farm a bit here, but so far so good for 4CL's game plan, at least. They're ahead by almost 4,000 gold, 3k experience.
Look at Bambo's money right now. Like, he's gonna
really
have
good.
Blink Arcanes at like 12-13 minutes. That is so insane. Like, how are they gonna fight against this?
Song of the Siren run.
Well, yeah, that's their only option, really. But that's only up once every 3 minutes right now because it's level 1. I think the one thing that DC have going for them right now is the fact that it's not like 4CL's team is amazing at pushing, right? Like, they have to kill first and then push after. They have a decent amount of spam, they have Ice Shards, Riptide, of course Ion Shell, and Power Shot, so they can kind of delay, try to get their core items going for them, and I guess just try to avoid fights for now, because honestly, with this mass amount of Disable, in the early game that 4CL have had, I think it's a mistake to try to fight them. Unless maybe you outnumber them.
And it's only going to get harder when this Wraith King gets an active item. Like, he has Armlet right now. I'm thinking he's going to get an ability item next, like a Blink Dagger. For DC to deal with that, oh, Pycat with a good blink, takes no Rupture damage. Doing the trick there, of course. What is it? On Rupture, if you travel more than... How much distance is it? You don't take the damage?
It's actually 1,300, I think, exactly.
It's 1,300 exactly, and Blink can blink 1,300. So you blink, and then you move an inch, and then you've passed the threshold, and of course, the damage of Rupture is dealt, I think it's calculated every quarter of a second, correct me if I'm wrong. So
I think it's
blink
around
and
there,
move,
yeah.
that's why you can do it.
You can also do it if you move and then blink, but you have to be super fast because, of course, blink has an animation. So the animation actually delays enough where sometimes you still take the Rupture damage. So it is typically easier to move after the blink.
This tower mid is taking a lot of damage here. Once again, just the 4CL strategy is just really coming into its own right now. Everyone has what they need. Like, the lowest farmed hero on their side, Saxa, is still almost level 7 minute 13, which isn't like phenomenal for support, but considering what position he's been in, only 1 assist and just really babysitting bottom, he's looking good too, with all the jungle he found.
There's really been no pressure at all on the bottom side of the map for 4CL. Like, it's just completely been mid and top lane where majority of the action's been happening. Speaking of, Rupture here onto EGM, Blood Ray coming in, teleport reaction, it's going to be Bambo. He does have Echo, there's 3 heroes right next to each other. Here comes the Blink Dagger, TC and Bulba just explode under the damage you are. He's going to eat the Light Strike Array and a Laguna, see you later. Saksa comes in to finish up that kill, and they were not expecting Bambo to have a Blink, I can tell you that.
Yeah, this is just an absolute beatdown. There's really no other way to put it right now. Looks like Biryu is also going to fall mid. He's trying for the TP out, but Pycat more than enough damage here. The charge was giving the vision. Biryu thought he could juke him there with the fog, but a good charge secures that kill, and now it's 4 kills in a row. They're getting the top tier 1. Swift Ending now getting involved in pushing on another lane. He's like, okay, maybe there's more to the world than just a bottom lane. He goes and takes this tower. That's closing in on his Blink Dagger. DC are going to need pretty much a miracle. And I'm saying that 14 minutes in, but this game's just getting out of control really fast.
Yeah, it's one thing when a team like this gets a couple of kills early, because you kind of expect it, right? You got Spirit Breaker, you have multiple stuns, high damage. It's expected that a couple of people get picked. But when you start losing your tier 1s like this, and it's only 14 minutes in, the offlane Shaker has Blink, Arcanes, halfway to Force Staff, you got some real problems on your hands, because it's not really a problem anymore defending tower, but...
Are you looking at the net worth? It's
Yes.
generally a good indicator when the offlaner of one team has more gold than the safe laner of the other, that
To
you're
be fair,
stomping.
Middle tower
He's
is
got
under
almost
attack.
as much net worth as his mid player in his safe lane, so... I think Bambo is just having another standout game, to be honest. Seems like these are the types of heroes that he
Bottom
plays
tower
best,
is under
the ones
attack.
that can turn around and just either do counter initiation or find picks for himself. Like, his map awareness, I feel, is some of the best out of any of the players that I've seen, and if you give him a hero that can make the plays, it will happen.
He's definitely been solid once again in this game. I feel like the entirety of Four Clovers have just been getting the job done. It's similar to that game yesterday, like you mentioned, where we played Sand King, where it's like you don't want to take anything away from any of the other players because they've also played great, but he's just having that standout game, as you were mentioning. So it's just really... I want to mention EGM too on that account, actually. I think a lot of the success has really been because of the Spirit Breakers just getting information and also just setting up a lot of key kills here. It looks like he will be going for another one, but this one is a bait.
They're gonna song straight away. The blood rate comes out maybe a little bit early. Miscoordination here coming out from DC. The silence is not gonna hit. Pycat comes in, links into position. He's waiting for the Sonic Wave, throws it up, but the snowball actually dodges all the damage. This could be the turnaround they need. Bambo's here. The Echo comes on cooldown. It hits on 4 members of Digital Chaos. It is an absolute murder fest here in top lane. Aoi is the last man standing. He's earned up here, gets bashed to the trees, and the fastest GG of the elimination tournament here at 16. Actually, it was 15 minutes in when they called it, but good lord, that was ugly.
Yeah, that was ugly, really. I think, you know, if you look at 4CNL's draft and what they have early on in this game, they have this potential to play super aggressively, and you look over at DC and it seems like in a lot of ways their lineup is more reactionary. What I would have liked to see out of them was bringing the Darkseer to fights earlier and trying to get Ion Shell on Bloodseeker and Tusk, for example, and just run at the enemy and try to kill them off with Ion Shell, because that's the real source of damage in the early game. Really relies on the Darkseer, and he was just in the offlane the whole time, farming, trying to get his mech, and ultimately when he finally gets it, his team is so far behind it doesn't even matter. That was just really, really solid for 4CNL that seem like so far in this tournament, and also in others, that they've found their stride recently, and they look to be a really hot contender in other tournaments.
I gotta say, this game for me, I came into this favoring Digital Chaos, like personally. I thought it was going to be like a 3-1 or a 3-2 or something like that, but
That
again,
could still happen.
4CL, it could still happen, but this is kind of be one of those games, if you're in this position, do you shake it off and you say, okay, we obviously didn't have a great game, a lot of stuff went wrong, we just keep a clear head and just go in for game 2?
I just want it to not be 3-0, you know? I would just want to see a fourth game. I really want to see how they're going to draft, because obviously we've had a couple of 3-game series that were really interesting in the third game with what the teams chose. If we can get this to go to 4 or 5 games, we're going to see a lot of funky picks, so that's what I'm hoping for. I think DC, a player like AY, Bulba, and TC, of course, a lot of experience. They know that this is a long series and you shouldn't be spending too much time debating a game that just flat out went wrong. You reset, you go for the next, and you know you can't really prepare that much for the second game based on game 1 anyway, because the draft this time around in this tournament, you don't want to worry about that shaker again, right? Because it's not happening. So I think
that's very
the
true.
game plan for next game is probably target Bambo maybe with the Sand King ban. I would say would be a good start, because now the hero pool is so different. You don't have to ban top tier anymore. Now you can target players.
Yeah, that's definitely right on point, and I am inclined to agree. However, I think this is probably going to be the only time we get to cast this tournament, so it was a blast. Hopefully Owen can fix his shit for next game, so we can get the real play-by-play
In all
going.
honesty, you're making it sound like it was his fault, and I really don't think it was. Like,
But I
the servers
love
are just
blaming
really
Owen
glitchy
for
today.
things. That's the thing. Like,
He definitely fucked up. Let's Owen, get it
100%.
together.
Yeah, okay. Good stuff. All right, so, of course, that's the end of game 1. Now we're going to go ahead and throw it back to the panel. Andrew, take it away.
All right, welcome back to the panel. Draskyl, thank you so much.
Slacks,
I'm glad
get
you're here
out.
also
You are late.
on the
Get
panel.
the fuck out.
Slacks, you are the worst at everything. My God. My God, you got the multitasking skills of a pug. Jesus Christ. What a game 1, though, and a climactic way for it to end. That echo from Bambo was, you know, right before that you guys were just saying, this has been such a standout game for him, and that was just the crushing blow to demoralize DC into an early forfeit there in Game 1. I mean, what were you thinking, Modpax? My golly good gracious.
Well, like Mr. Owen, I was also kicked from the lobby, and I was a little bit shocked to see that we're about to hop on the panel. So that ended pretty abruptly. It was kind of a beatdown, obviously. I don't know, that Wraith King, though.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Okay, hero.
Armlet Blink.
I can't take anything away from Swift Ending because I've seen the guy play and he's very good, but he just didn't have to do anything that game. Like, Bambo, Pika, and EGM just won the game. Like, that's it. All three of them together just won the game.
Yep. One of those games that, as you guys said, you just kind of have to shake off and move forward. But this is part of what I love about Elimination Mode. They don't have to worry about any of the problems they had in that game. Maybe that's a bit strong, but the big problems. The Earthshaker out of the pool. The Queen of Pain out of the pool. Where do you go next, though? I mean, for DC, do you try to switch up the strategy a little bit? Is this where you pull out some cheese cannons and try for a pushing strat? I mean, what are you thinking, Draskyl, looking into Game 2?
It's kind of hard to say. I feel that draft in Game 1 for 4CL was pretty much the most 4CL draft you can get, because they have a bunch of heroes who can fight at pretty much any point. They're good in small engagements, they're good in 5v5. It was fully set up to be able to take any engagement they wanted, right? And I think that's really nice for them because that's their playstyle. However, I totally agree with what syndereN said in terms of targeting bans towards Bambo's heroes, because I haven't seen the guy have a bad game yet. I mean, the Earth Spirit, okay, maybe that was his worst game, and he still did a lot, you know? Like, even if he dies a few times, he still manages to make stuff happen. So, for me, I feel like he has been doing too much to ignore.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And with that, we will have the draft for Game 2 starting right away here. And, man, I hope this ends up going 1-1 at least, so we're guaranteed for a Game 4. But after that first game, whew, my. You know, I'm kind of curious what the bets say. I would imagine that DC are favorites coming into this. And, oh, actually, no. 4 Clovers, 55% on Dota 2 Lounge, 45% for Digital Chaos. So it is pretty close, but the Clovers are actually favorited here.
They've been showing up lately, I guess, so looks like people are taking notice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just taking a look at the draft now, it looks like Clockwork's probably the
10
biggest hero that I can see left in now that PL, SF, and Ember are taken out.
5
I'm
seconds
not too sure where we'll go from here. And the other big one's that sexy Bambo Tiny. I mean, it's coming. Gotta believe it.
Time.
So, do you think they should be afraid of the Bambo Sand King? Was that just? Do you think that game was more just the perfect storm where he fed the first blood so that he didn't seem like a threat? Then he got all that space.
That's
in the
not
jungle?
part of the perfect storm. Dying
Yeah,
like
well,
that
no,
is not
but the
perfect
recovery. I mean, like after the first blood, he got so much
Radiant
space. I mean, he
team
had an 8-minute blink dagger, and good call, Modpax
Yeah.
was the first pick Clockwork. So like. Do you think it's worth targeting a ban at the Sand King, or are there other Bambo heroes that you want to prioritize in terms of bans?
I just feel, and I mentioned this while casting with Sind, I really think that Bambo excels in those heroes who find like the 1 or 2 second windows where they can actually just go in and blow somebody up. So
Am I good or
Modpax is
am I
batting
good?
1,000 here.
Mhm.
Holy
I tell ya.
Toledo. Tiny Io, the opener for the 4 Clovers.
now
Bambo's
is this
hero, man.
actually, is this Bambo's Tiny? Does he always play it for Steel? Because I don't
as
actually
far
know.
as I've seen, they switch Bambo onto the Tiny.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is one of the heroes that I think he would do well with, just because again, it's all about finding your opportunities for initiation. I assume he goes
10
Blink Dagger on his
seconds
Tiny,
remaining.
like
Yeah.
probably most games.
Last time
Yeah.
I've seen it, so.
5
Kind of one of those
seconds
stomping heroes, you know?
remaining.
You get a little bit of a snowballing edge, but you kind of... It's also like, with Tiny, if you're winning the game,
Reserve time.
it's just so brutal. If you, like, wipe the enemy team, you can usually get a Rax if you have some decent farm on your hero. Those buildings.
Yeah, I think Tiny is also amazing against Clockwork, just in the sense that whenever you go into an engagement, if somebody gets, like, if you get hookshot, for example, you can just throw him out. Doesn't even matter. Like, you just toss him back to his team or something like that, and then hit the cogs and run away. And alternatively, you can actually throw people into his cogs to put him in a worse position. So he's actually very good at abusing positioning during teamfights, and I hope the Bambo can make some of that happen here.
Now, I know I've brought this one up a couple of times, but seeing Tiny Wisp opener, Disruptor seems like a very viable second pick for DC in this game.
It is good against the Wisp for obvious reasons. You can either choose to glimpse one of them, or you can just set up a kinetic field and a static storm if you're fast enough, which that one's obviously a little bit harder to do. But I think that the biggest issue you're going to run into during the mid game is sometimes you have to know exactly where they're going to be before they're there. And if you're not in position to glimpse and they see you showing on the map, then all of a sudden they just relocate and somebody's dead. You know, it's a hero that if you're going to pick it for that sole purpose,
Radiant
you have to
team
always be ready for that relocate. And I think that's really difficult to do.
Yeah, well, they do something a bit different here. They take the Visage for their second pick, another one of those heroes that is an Owie 2000 classic, and hey, 4CL, finally Disruptor getting a little bit of love. Okay, I can get behind that,
Yeah.
though. Would rather see him played than banned, to be honest.
It's good enough though against the two heroes like you mentioned that it does warrant a ban. It's just annoying, I guess. They don't want to have to deal with that kind of setup. And the Visage for me is great synergy with Clockwork. We actually saw this a few times at TI5 too. Teams picking up these heroes in conjunction, you get the Solar Crest going, and you can melt even a BKB Tiny inside of those cogs if you manage to catch him out like that. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see them go back for something like, let's see, is Viper still available? He is. So I think they kind of want another method of dealing with that Tiny still.
Now, something that we do need to reiterate here, again, we said it during the pre-show, but we have quite a few more viewers joining us. The server rules for this tournament, for the best of 5, as it is NA versus EU, we are alternating. That first server was on Europe, so 4CL did have the ping advantage. Coming into Game 2 here, we are on the US servers. So we'll see if that actually makes a big difference, but I know a lot of people are curious about it. So in the nature of full disclosure, it was EU first, US here for Game 2, and then it will just continue to alternate in that fashion. So it will be EU going in to Game 3.
Well, the server advantage for me is, I think it's kind of good, but it depends on if you're like one of those people who lives on the West Coast and you're playing on like Europe server and then you have like 250 ping, and you're playing a hero that can initiate. Oftentimes, I don't like to put a whole lot of stock into servers unless it's like super unfavored, like 300 ping versus 30. I mean, that's maybe the only time, and that's like in a mid matchup, for example. So there's very few heroes in Dota who I feel are that affected by having like 150 to 200 ping, where you could really make it an issue.
Yeah, I would generally agree, but what are you thinking here, Trent? How are you liking this draft so far? Rubik and Witch Doctor now, the next two supports picked up.
Well, I'm liking the Witch Doctor, of course. Tiny Io, pretty classic, little bit of a pairing there. They definitely still have a lot to go, though. They still have to get like their carry and their mid. But I think the reason you often do see supports prioritized when you're doing things like, you know, random draft or in this situation, the elimination mode, simply because there's not that many like good supports, maybe. Whereas kind of rotating into some of these later carries, there's not much of a difference, one could say. I don't know. It's just they always are prioritized, and now it looks like we will get to carry those. The Razor comes out, so. Who are you going to pair with your Clockwork? A little bit of mobility maybe for DC? Somebody who can work around the hooks?
I think mobility would be okay. I still think that they want a Siege, though. If you look at their heroes that they have now, Witch Doctor and Visage both have great synergy with Clockwork. I think they're just trying to build around a team that can isolate the one hero in this case, which before Razor came out was Tiny, and just be able to deal with him even if he has BKB. So their supports actually both scale very well. Like Visage, obviously you get Aghanims, Witch Doctor, same thing, and you do a tremendous amount of physical damage. So they always want a way to be able to kill him at any stage, and that's why I think that Viper is also pretty decent. However, the Razor for me from 4CL, that seems like more of a denial pick, because I think Razor would have been great for DC for the same reasons. I mean, you could even still pick Viper if you wanted to, put it against the Wisp Tiny mid, which could or could not be a possibility depending on how they want to lane it, but a lot of choices here for Digital Chaos.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Tiny Wisp really struggle against Viper. What was it even earlier in this tournament? I want to say on day one we saw a Tiny pick, and it just the Viper. Obviously, it was a good game for the Viper. He got ahead. There were some other features or other factors that went into it. But once he got the Aghanims, it just felt like there was nothing the Tiny could do. It was just Viper strike after Viper strike, and they just kited him around. So we'll see. DC delving deep into the reserve time here. We'll just be patient for the next few seconds and do what they have in mind here for the next few cores.
Got the Jug still left. Oh, they're going to go with the Morphling. All right, that's a little bit different. Someone who can kind of move around the battlefield can be good. Has the stun as well. I can see that being pretty good. I think that Razor, though, it's just a really nice pick for shutting down the Bristleback, which is one of those ones that people always want to go to with a Tiny Io. And I guess now we just move into the final bands.
10 seconds remaining.
Morphling. I'm not sure what to make of this one. I haven't seen a Morphling in quite some while. I suggested him as a potential offlane role, I think, on day 1 or 2. But what do you think, Draskyl? Is Morphling still pretty well suited in that kind of position 1?
I think Morphling can be a position 1. I just have a really hard time justifying it against heroes like Tiny and Razor. Because here's the thing about Morphling. Most of the time, your engagements are as follows. You waveform in, right? Which against Tiny and Razor, both things that you typically don't want to do. For one reason, you're going to get comboed. There's static link. If you're within, I think it's 350 attack range, you are also susceptible to Craggy Exterior. So even as a ranged carry, he doesn't really get away from that portion of Tiny, which I think is the big advantage of picking stuff like Viper, because you can stay very far away. You never have to put yourself in that position. So I think it's all right. You can still carry against Razor for sure. He's definitely the lesser of two evils here, but it's not necessarily amazing against Tiny. Maybe they feel that between the Clock, the Visage, the Witch Doctor, they have more than enough to deal with that hero, and they're confident picking something else.
Well, the Viper that we've talked
5
about so
seconds
much will be
remaining.
banned out here by the 4 Clovers, and I think it is
Radiant
definitely a
team
safe
pick.
5th ban in this scenario. DC ban out the Nyx Assassin. First thing I think is, could we see a Medusa final pick?
For
Not
DC,
bad.
you mean?
Yeah, for DC, exactly. They
Because
ban
that
out
means
the
you have to
Nyx,
run
so they want
Morphling
Medusa.
mid, though, which might be an issue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could
Nah,
put
you could run Dusa
Medusa
mid.
mid.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Dusa mid is actually okay against Wisp Tiny just because you're so tanky. I think we saw it actually picked, was it 1 or 2 days ago? Somebody,
We saw it
I think
once,
it was
I forget
Pike
which
who
series.
played it, right? Or was it...
10 seconds remaining.
Wait, who played it?
Yeah, I think
remember.
it was Podcast because he said Resident Sleeper.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
said
yeah,
Medusa
yeah.
was a fun game.
He was playing against Zeus mid as Medusa. And I was just
Yeah.
like, wow, this is like the
Reserve
most boring
time.
matchup ever. But it can be nice. It's very, very tanky. Obviously, you have the ultimate that's very good against Relocate, and Razor can't really stand there and static link you if he has to turn around, so it does have very good utility
Dire
against
team
4CL.
pick.
Oh ho ho! Mr. Suns fan's going to be happy to see that one. Centaur picked up by the 4 Clovers.
Isn't this the second time
Interesting.
he used the cheer for Centaur against his own team?
I think so.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure he tweeted about that.
I think there's going to be some emails exchanged after this series. Just like, can you please pick Centaur? You are my team. I write your paychecks, please.
Pretty pleased. So, aside from the Medusa, what else could work here for Digital Chaos?
10
They've only got about 10
seconds
seconds
remaining.
left, so they'll have to decide pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm not
5
sure either. I
seconds.
still think
Fudge.
Medusa's okay. Clinks, okay.
Whoa,
I can,
Clinks.
I can get behind a Clinks. This is a hero who does tremendous single target damage. And that really feels like what Digital Chaos were trying to put together from the start. Because you got Soul Assumption, you got Clockwork who isolates heroes, Witch Doctor is... He's kind of the same until he gets Aghanims, then he's just AoE damage because his ulti bounces. But this is a lineup that can eat through a Tiny. Easy. Like, no problem at all. So I think that's kind of what they were going for. They just want to be able to kill that hero because the lineup still is very based around that hero, because if his burst isn't there, no one else really on the side of 4CL, maybe barring Centaur, does that much burst damage in the first place. So
Yeah.
if the fight is kind of stretched out over time, I can see Digital Chaos coming out on top very easy, which is spamming Soul Assumptions, getting some waveforms off, and of course Clink's damage being absolutely through the roof.
It's also
Yeah.
huge against Io because you like 3-shot Io when you have a
Yeah.
Desolator going on.
Yeah.
So you got to get it. The faster you can kill Io, the better your fight's going to go against Tiny Io.
Yeah, I also like just a little bit of synergy between having Centaur and then the Tiny Wisp on the same team, because it allows you to relocate and have a little bit of flexibility. If you're not quite in the right spot, if they start to react, you can either retreat via the Stampede or use it as an initiation tool. So even if they get things to kite the Tiny around, there are still ways to compensate for that and let Tiny get to where he needs to be to do the damage with the Whomping Willow.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking DC's draft this game. Like, the more I think about it, although the one wild card that 4CL have is their Centaur. If the Centaur ulti is on point, you can get yourself into great position with the Razor. You can kind of just run a team fight over completely by getting a good Tiny combo off and eliminating a support from the fight. I think DC kind of need all of their heroes to function the way their team needs, whereas like last game, we saw a lot of small skirmishes and stuff like that coming out from both teams. I think DC really want to be able to have that freedom of 5-manning very early, and they got great push. If the Clinks gets a good start, he's probably the one I would expect to see with the Clockwork kind of off on their own. And then, of course, you're going to have Aui's Visage, which is no joke, to say the least.
Yeah, that is one of the most classic hero-player combos that comes to mind in North America for me, of just how much farm he finds on that hero in the position 4, how quickly he gets out that Medallion Aghanims, and how much pressure he can put around the map. So, all right, game number 2, boys. We'll go around one final time before we pass it over to the casters. Who's taking game number 2 based on draft?
I'll say DC.
I'm going to go with 4CL because of the Bambo Tiny, assuming he plays it.
Yep, I think I've got to go 4CL as well. Even if it's not the Bambo Tiny, I have some confidence in the Tiny Wisp. Pimmuckle, you want an in here? Who you think? Who you liking? All right, I like
I
it.
gotta go with Fossil. I'm sorry. I
right.
just think Bambo's insane right now.
All right, Bambo's on a heater. We'll see if he can continue to play well. My gosh, here we go. We're gonna hand it over to the casters. Odie, Pixel, and syndereN, take it away.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And here we go, game 2. Let's hope everything goes a little bit more smoothly this time. It is indeed myself, Odie Pixel, joined by syndereN. And well, syndereN, game one, that was over in a bit of a flash. I mean, looking at the drafts and everything said and done, do you think DC are taking quite a different approach to this?
Oh, you have to in this mode, right? Whenever it's a new
Well,
game,
yes,
it is a
true.
different approach
Yes,
every
yes.
single time. So
Touche.
this is very, very different from game one, but it is from both sides. I think the team that's closest to the style of their draft in game one, if you want to look at it, might be 4CNL, who are again just looking at very early aggression with this time around a Tiny on Bambo together with the IO.